Um, yeah, so today we are going to try and build two projects, and we have like 2 hours. So I don't want to beat around the bush. I want to just get ahead and get started. That's I think nowadays it's like easier to do that. It's not like something impressive. So you can build two projects in less than 2 hours, really, or not. It's going to depend with the size of the project and what you're trying to accomplish. But yeah, that's what we're going to try and do. And we we had started working on this last time, and I think if I remember correctly, it was running. And so I'm just going to switch this to use WSL, Windows Subsystem Linux again. And this is called Terminal. This is an Explorer. And then there's like the agent that lives here. I don't want to touch this because it's going to ask me for stuff that I don't want to provide. So I'm just going to use the old school coding. So this is Mid AI. Mid AI list, and we are going to be using different frameworks throughout this video, so I'm just going to show them. And if you don't want to like watch the whole thing, or before you watch the whole thing want to see like where we get, just skip at the end, like the last few minutes of the video, and see the output and see if you want to watch the whole thing. Like, you don't want to invest 2 hours of your time if it's not going to be worth it, right? So you're going to be using this, I think, and then we're going to be using this, and then we're going to be using this. So I'm pretty familiar with these technologies because I've used them for quite some time, but I might change and maybe try and use something else. And we are lastly going to use Node.js. So I'll just do like a quick explanation before we dive deep into the wild. So there's this one. We can start with this one. Previously we were actually using this one, the previous video we're using this one. So it's basically a free open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime. This sounds, I would say it's just a language that lets you create servers and web apps and command line tools and scripts. Yeah, so, and you do not really have to overthink it. And so what you build here is literally a command line tool, because you can just run npm run dev and it's going to give you an output, and the output should be that you don't have a key for this, right? Or the key is not functional, right? So yeah, API key not found. And you're going to fix this in a bit. So this is what you call a server, and if you come here, you can see where we are running. So when you're doing pm run, it's going to run this server file. So this is the server file, right? And then we have this, and it's going to be exposed and then consumed by a front end or not. I think I'm trying to think what would allow us to move faster, like if we had an hour, right? Is it having a separate front end or just having front end be part of this? By this, what I mean is, can just open Excalibur. So there's two ways to go about this, right? There's the monolith way, monolith, and there's the API way. So by monolith, what I mean is we have a client or front end. It depends where you are, what they call it. And then let's make this or not like this. That it will work. I meant Control B. I meant make it a bit larger. Not everything. Want to make one. Just want these to be the only one that's large. I think I have. Checking here. Okay, I think this is even cleaner. Can I make it? Can I? No. So Excalibur doesn't work with these commands. Interesting. 30 was. So this see, I'm trying to so there's monolith and then there's API, and here what you're going to do is you have a client like a front end, and then you have a backend, a server, a backend, and this comes as one entity. Yeah, and then just going to copy this text and paste it here. There's the API way, and then the API way, what it means is we have a client, and this client is going to call a server. But this time should be spent building, so we are going to pay it back. I guess we can afford to do this. So here we have this is how it works. uh, and then okay, just yeah, I think this is almost what I'm trying to. So here, when you're building a solution, a full-fledged solution, you have there's two ways to go. There's one where you build a monolith. This means it's like one code base, and then there's another way where you use APIs. There's obviously like other ways to approach all of these. There's like things like GraphQL, there's microservices, but I think this is most common, I would say. At least if you're working on a small product, this is like the way to go. So you can go monolith, you can go API, and then yeah. So which one do we go if we had to move faster? Um, I think I think we go. I think we do both. I think we do monolith. If we to build this in an hour, I would say we go. I would say we go. Let's just go with the first one, right? Let's go with the first one and see if we can do it in an hour. So this means we're going to have to find a way to use a front end here. So let's not delay. We need to get our API back. So Gemini API. I know I don't have viewers, so I barely check the chat. So I just like, stream just someone talking in the void, like talking in the void. I don't mind the void. Okay, let's see. We had previously gotten our API key. How get API key? If you're in the chat and you work at Google, just tell them to give us some tokens so that you can talk about Gemini. So create API key to call it Meet AI, not to confuse it with Midjourney because it's better. This is Midjourney. Think of Midjourney, but better. And then copy this. Come here. Oh no. Go to our .env file. Add it here. Save. Go back. Answer these. And npm run dev. It should give us an output. We have a redundant logger here. So this is a redundant logger. This is where we're getting this output here. This is where you're getting this output here. I don't think we need this output, so we can just remove it now. But I'm going to put it back if you need it sometimes. And here, let's come back. I want to do something like view appearance. And what do we do? Want to do some like to wrap board wrap, so it's Alt Z. Okay, I remember that. Alt Z, so that's our text. moves on the next line. Then, yep, save. So one thing we want to do is we want to move these to come from. We don't even have like I don't think we need like some type of architecture or something. Like I think we can. This is something we can do, but just to sketch it up, let's come back here. Text meet AI, then best AI for text processing. It's crazy how we call it mid and you just label it best. Yeah, so this is it. Best AI for text processing. And then we are done with this. And this is basically what we are trying to do. And what we need here is a way to pass this input and then process it and then get an output. Yeah, and then we need to integrate the front end. So unlike some of the tutorials you're going to see here, we do a lot of googling because I probably do not remember what I did yesterday, so I do a lot of googling. So we're going to go to MDN integrate front end. I'm a firm believer in working from the front end backwards. So if you know what the UI look like, you can tell what the back end is going to look like. So here we come and we express. We need to spell it out for Google to understand it. Express and React. You're going to be using React. But this is going to be a really good opportunity for me to just like, touch on like a bunch of frameworks that I haven't used. And I'm very flexible when it comes to using new technology. Let's see. Let's try create a React app served by Express and Node.js. And then Express frontend. Let me think. So we do not we do not want we do not want these to be so what I'm trying to think is, so if React or the way React works is it's going to need an API to consume, which means we will be going with the second way rather than the first way. And coming back here is so if we use React, and I think Excalibur has a way to add icons. Image. Okay, this works. You can just take this and this. We had just use this. This works. So let's think about this, right? Let's not just do without thinking. And that is another thing you have to know about like coding is you need to spend a bit of time thinking about what you're doing, and it's going to make execution easier, right? So let's think about these technologies that we have capped, that we have lied, that we will use in this video here, right? Let's think about them and then see, try to align them how they're going to fit into our tools that we are building. So we have node, we have next, and then we have so we're going to try and touch on them individually. So we have just seen that Node.js is basically a language or an environment that lets you write CLI. So this on its own is a backend. So CLI servers and backend APIs, and then this is front end, right? This is completely front end. So you're going to be able to write front end, and then this is styling. So this is completely for styling. You can't do anything else but style with this. And then this is full stack. So you can do full stack with this. Means you can do front end and back end. So this one combines, you could say it combines, but it gives you the ability to build APIs, and also you can write the front end. So server side combined with client side, or front end combined with back end, but not really like the full back end, just like building APIs. I'm sure you can do a bit of stuff with Next.js, but you know, that's like a bit of like the reality, right? But let's try and see how we're going to do this. So we have just said that we want this to be a monolith, and if it's going to be a monolith, most of these technologies are not going to apply, right? If it's going to be a monolith, maybe we're going to use this and maybe later consider using this, and then we're going to find a way to use the to write the front end. Okay, enough talking. I think, yeah, we're going to do something like Node.js and a bit of Tailwind and see if that is going to work. So again, you have to remember you have 1 hour. So let's see, is this working first? Run dev. So when we run this, it should run a client, right? It should run a client. When we run this, it should run a client and the server concurrently. I'm thinking again in terms of API. When we run this, it should run one server, and this server should have the front end. Okay. Second, need to check what you need for this. Let's look at the docs. Environment setup. What operating systems are supported? Installing Node. we have done all of this, and load http server.listen. I don't think we are doing this, and I think we're going to come back to this, but I am looking for one specific part: how to solve display working with forms. HTML form. So they have HTML, form handling process, browser, HTTP gate. Try something stupid. Can I move this and then bring it to like Excalibur and then drop it here? Oh, that is so cool. Technology. I think this is why that meme was born, like technology or something. Yeah, so this is basically what you're trying to do. So browser request, page containing form, create default empty default form, and user populate update form, validate data as data valid, perform action, direct. Okay, so this is basically what you're trying to do. So if you want to understand it further, just pause the video here and look in details like what you're trying to do. But I'm going to move on because we barely have enough. Form handling process, that's what you're trying to do. So we need the express validator for sure. Install express validator, and then we're going to need a few more libraries, and this is how you install. If installation is not working, just check that you have like npm setup, and then this is how you use express validator. I need to copy this. Is this copyable? If you're in the chat and you work at Mozilla, just tell them that I have a bug here, like the copy is not working. So let's just check before complaining. Okay, it didn't work. So you can just select it manually. Just okay. Just equals. Oh, I think we're going to do import express validator. Express validator. Then here we're going to define this const body and validation result const. We need to go here, body validation result equals express validator. that you need, and we can keep all the logic in this one file, but and later on we can sort of detach it. And just one good practice that I like doing at least is, and then body name, empty name, age, invalid age, and then this is how you validate different results. And when the phone, I know I've said 2 hours, but I doubt you're going to be able to get 2 hours to finish this in 2 hours. I doubt you're even going to finish one in 2 hours. But yeah, you can dream, you can fly. Yeah. So let's see. And let's again sanitize values. Hmm. I'll just copy this form for now. Again, if you work at Mozilla, tell them this form is not working. I mean, this copy button. Let's see. Can I do this? I can't do this. This is not working. Maybe I need to log in or something. I don't think I'm going to type all of this. No way, no way, Jose. No way, Jose. Let me create a new file and we're going to call it client.js. I'm sure this name is going to eventually change, but there's a library called Leap. No, I mean, is it called? It's an extension. Is it Emmet? Extension that's used to complete VS Code. Like you can just do. Okay. Let me think. HTML. Let me do this. Generate code. It's not it. You need HTML code for file upload. And let's see where it takes us. This is what we need, this right here. Some of this code is not going to be, it's going to be faulty, which means that you're going to have to spend time fixing it. And that's the downside of, using AI, right? HTML, body, body, ID, equal, body. So, yeah, I'm not going to explain what happens with HTML, and but I can just sort of explain it a bit because you're going to need a lot of HTML as you build web stuff. So body ID, then here you need a head. So these are called tags, right? This is what you call a tag. And the thing about coding is that you cannot memorize everything, so you just like do stuff and then test if it's actually worked or not worked. That's why it is very important to run frequent tests. So what do you need in the head? What goes in the head? Um, we need a mechanism that allows us to move faster. So let me think. How do we move faster for this? So we're going to use AI, but we're going to use it not as integrated directly. We're going to use Cloud Code. Cloud. Cloud. So yeah, I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to do it is because like the reason I'm using AI again is because it's let's be realistic, we're going to move a bit faster with it compared to without it. And so this is one hack for us to move faster, right? Because otherwise I'm going to have to jump in different hoops like documentation and stuff. So that's one hack for us to move faster. And then we need a UI for this. We need a UI for this, and it needs to be running. Control Shift format. There. Necessary tags for front end. So there's a front end. Necessary tags. Give me skeleton front end, basic front end to upload PDF file. You can work simple dot index.html. So here I'm just, the keyword is this, I just need a skeleton, right? Because I don't have all of these tags in my head. Not that I couldn't find them, I just want to try and move a bit faster for the sake of this video, right? Let's see. And I'm sure about is we're going to need an index.css and again. Is this visible? I don't think this is visible to whoever is watching the video, is going to watch the video later. So I'm going to move this here. I'm going to what is this? One thing you have to be careful about using AI is how much, like, it just gives you a bunch of stuff you do not need. Look at this. Why are you giving me drag and drop support? Like, I don't need this. By slide limit, by the feedback, responsive design, da da da. Okay, let's just open this. I know you're very smart, but I don't need all of this. And okay, this is actually looks good, I ain't gonna lie. But let's look at the code. Yeah. So he has done all of this logic and he has added some styling, and I don't mind us taking this, but we're going to have to go through it and try and understand it. Okay, let's take this and add it. So and you have to remember to thank the gods of thank you, Claude. So let's try and do this, and we're going to try and look at what he just gave us. And we do word wrap again. But you can see that that is going to allow us to move a bit faster, right? So HTML, so there's like all of these things you had forgotten. Dot type. An easy way to know what a tag means is to hover over it, and it's going to give you a definition and a reference to MDN, and you can just click here if you want to understand more about the tag, and it's going to take you to MDN where you're going to get the full definition. And this is the full definition of what the HTML tag means. And here in the title we need to change this to meet AI, and this is the styling. This title is going to appear in the like sort of like here of the browser. Let me explain what I mean. This title appears here. That's where the title appears of the page, and a HTML page is basically that what you just saw here. Like this is a HTML page, this is a HTML page, this is a HTML page, and what tells you that it's one, you can click here, right click I mean, what happened with this? Okay, I don't mind if it's messing up, we just find another T and view page. page source that is going to give you the code. So this is the same thing that you are writing. We can see the opening doc type, the HTML, and then there's classes, there, head, meta. So we can now look at the rest of this. So let's see. I want to collapse few. Oh, it's Alt Z. At forgotten. Alt Z. Okay. So meta name viewport content with device. I think this is like how we want it to look like, and then come back down. This is styling. We have barely talked about styling, but what this basically means is font families. We're setting font families and how if one is missing, it's going to be using the next one. If the next one is missing, it uses the other one. And then here it's setting a background. Linear gradient is like how usually a color flows from one direction to another. So this is what it's doing. And then here it's setting a minimum height of 100 VH. This means a full VH, but I know H means height. I don't know what the V means, but what this means is basically the full height of the device regardless of which device. So whether it's mobile, whether it's desktop, it's going to be this. And then this is centering, and then this is padding, means what is the spacing going to be from the element to the first interaction with the next child element, if I might say. So padding is like this space from here to here, right? So that's sort of like padding. And go back, and I don't think there's anything box shadow. So these are like styles and style elements. One beautiful thing about watching me is that I don't allow people to waste time. So I would like you to teach, I would like to show you the art of cheat sheet, which means you can come here and find CSS, cheat sheet. I'm not saying you shouldn't write CSS, but do you really have to write CSS? I mean, you have to write CSS, but I used to actually be good at writing CSS, but I don't think I would be decent at writing CSS at this point. But if you want to like be good at styling, which would be good, I was going to give you, like, you can find cheat sheets all over the place, whether it's here, whether it's, yeah, and try to learn. And one key thing is that a lot of learning comes from styling, and if you want to be a master stylist, you have to write a lot of CSS. What you are trying to build here is a product, not write a lot of CSS. So mid AI is going to be the next big thing, I'm telling you. I know some of you are doubting it, but I want all of these companies to know that mid AI is coming. It is coming. I want especially OpenAI to know that Meet AI is coming for them. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is it. File size, BTN, linear gradient. I don't think we want to go through all of these. We barely have time. I want to do one thing, however. I want to run it. How do we run this? And I want to run it from this server. It's called serving static files. How do you serve static files from an Express server? I want to be able to run npm run dev and have client files running. Okay, good. Now we have just vibe coded a monolith application. So I know there's something like static here. By the way, we added our API key, but we didn't get to check if it's working. What did we? There. Let's see, because this is processing. Let's have okay, that is one thing. Injecting the TMV from the anti-prime. Like, you're not committing anything, chill out. Okay, it's working, right? Like, you can see the output from the previous file. Okay, so this is one thing we haven't done. We have to move our folder to public, right? So this needs to come here, and then this needs to come here, and just to make sure we are not committing too much of a mess, this styling that we have here needs to be detached as well, right? So Meet AI, the next big thing. That should be the slogan. So let's see, and then format. How do you format as the command shift alt F? Okay, so I'm going to do shift alt F or shift alt F. Okay, that's right. And then save. So this has just saved our file, and this file contains the styling, and you have just removed it from here, and then shift alt F, and then we need to collapse this, which means we have to do alt shift F, alt shift F, alt Z, alt Z. Yep. I'm going to create something like Meet AI PDF to text in 5 seconds. Okay, PDF to text in 5 seconds. Okay, right? So let's see, click to browse, drag and drop, days, PDF, file size, and then document. So one thing you have to know is that if you're not using React, you have to write vanilla JavaScript. I have barely written any vanilla JavaScript in however many years I've been coding. So this document dot get element by ID upload area. But what you're doing here is basically trying to get the element from ID from here. You're trying to get basically what this says, document get element by ID, but each of our ID is going to be an element that we have here. So if you come up here, you're going to see ID file info, ID file input, ID upload area, and ID file size, ID upload button, ID message. So this is where I'm trying to get all of these elements, and what you're doing is const is basically trying to store that element in a variable or that you can then reference later on. So this is basically what you're doing. And then here, upload area that add event linear click to then change. Upload area that add event drag. So this is basically what they're trying to do. I don't think we want to see it. Let's try and run this and see if it works, right? Control save. Our, our 1 hour is almost elapsing and we have barely done anything, even with AI support. That is crazy. Okay. What do we do here? So we have these functions. These functions are pretty much doing a lot of the work, but they are going to be formatted as we go. Let's just see. I'm going to clear this, and I have index moved. So index.html is now part of public, so is index.css. But I want to move the JS file as well, just because I like it this way. I think it's more cleaner, and if you make a mistake, separating concerns makes it easier to fix whatever mistake you're making, right? So this is it, and then you have the script. The script is here, index.js. I don't think we need script here. You just need to call it and it's going to work. There's people who would beat you up for some of the rules we are breaking, like that's the thing between like every evolution of technologies. Like some people have a way of doing things, and then a new generation comes and they also have like a new way of doing things. So you know if you meet some old school guy and he's screaming at you like, why the fuck have you done this? You know, just tell him to chill. Tell him that it's the new wave. It's what the kids are doing nowadays, and he has to accept it. Tell him that the kids nowadays are coding with AI and stuff. I want to move this. Okay, where did I move this back? Okay, there we go. Wanted to move it back and I wanted to do Alt Z. Okay, so that you can see what you're trying to do here. Again, we have stored each of those elements that have an ID here. So upload area, file input, file info, file name, file size, upload button, message. And if you go and look in our HTML, you should see each of these elements are present there, right? So now what is next is want to format document, and then I want to do Alt Z, right, so that you can see everything properly. And then what is next is I need to include this in my HTML because this is what's going to run. So I need to come here, need to do link, rel. I've completely forgotten how to do some of this stuff. Link rel is index.css. This is going to work. Then how do you include this? I've completely forgotten coding without AI. Let's see. How to include a script again? But it's also been some time since I've used this, like JavaScript. HTML, I guess. But does it work with LinkLab? I think this is going to work, but there's an easy way to test this, and that's basically running the app. So if you just come here and here, we need to first check if our HTML is attached and if we can run it. Our HTML is attached to the server, I mean npm run dev, then visit your static and will be served. There's changes you need to make to the server. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So there's a lot of changes you have to make here, and first you need to install the Express. And then we need I think that's it. We just need to install the Express. And we installed this validator, but it's not being used at the moment. So just to comment it out for now. And come down here and let's see, what are we trying to do? Just do this. So import Express. Express. Declare the port number. Port eco process.tmv. Remember how we set up .tmv? They have used 300, but we're just going to use 5,000 for these. To save static files, we need, we can do this. This needs to move down here because the TMV hasn't been initialized here, right? So you can't run it at that point, so you need to move it down here. And then oh no, we need to save these static files that comes from public. So I'm just going to copy this command and add it here, and then yeah, so you can see here sub static files from the public directory, which is this one, and the public directory contains static files. So by static files, what I mean is JavaScript, HTML, CSS. JavaScript is not really static because it can allow you to do things like hover, state effects. They're called state effects. And this is express.json. This allows us now to process JSON, and then we need an API endpoint for file upload, which would already be available, so we're not going to do any of these. Let me think. So we're just going to adjust our existing function instead of being executed by default to be executed from an express server. So previously our server was a plain function, but we're going to move it to be a logic upload endpoint ready. So let's make these to do upload logic, add upload logic here, and then come back here, pull back route, matched. So okay, I don't know why there's this unmatched routes. Subs index.html for unmatched route. Okay, and this just allowed us to run a server, right, and serve static files. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, so let's recap what we have just done here. So first we imported app from Express. So what you're basically saying is Express, again, Express is a Node.js server that is already written. So instead of us writing our own function, there's a lot of logic happening within Express, and this means we don't have to write it ourselves, right? That's why you even use libraries, even while we're using Google Gen AI. Like, you don't have to write a lot of the logic, a lot of the heavy lifting that is being done by library maintainers. And if you come down here, we are serving static files that exist in our public directory. So this is the public directory again. It contains CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. And then we are doing express.json. Here we are serving, this allows us to process JSON files, and by JSON what I mean is objects. A lot of JSON is going to be objects, and we're going to see JSON maybe once we start hitting the APIs. And an example of an object is this. So you can see how we are returning this right here. So this is an object, right? This is like an object, not the whole thing, but like from here up to the end of the yellow carry place, like this is an object. And what it means is it has a key and it has a value. So this is a key, the message is the key, the value is upload endpoint ready. And here what we are doing is upload get everything, and every route is basically going to go through index.html. Yep, I think this is what it means. Every route, all the routes, and for every route we should be sending index.html. So let's save this, and then let's run npm run dev. Express is not defined. What do you mean? What you mean, huh? Is it not installed? It is installed. What do you mean it's not installed? See what I mean? It should be this. So we are importing Express from Express, and then here we are initializing Express. Okay, so now this is basically a lot of errors. It's going to be finding that there's that one that sticks out. It sticks out. You can see like a lot of these are like files, but then there's like you scroll, but then there's like that one that sticks out. It hits you in the face. Did something wrong. Like that's the one that you need to look for, right? So let's save. Path is not defined. Well, of course. But path. So now we have also just imported path. And then let's run again. We have like a lot of errors, right? Deal name is not defined. Name is not defined. Name is not defined. They are right. Where does deal name come from? So they're saying this is not defined, and you might be right. Where does it come from? Path.join deal name. Where does it come from? Where does their name come from? I think it's like a value, like that should be coming with Express, but what do you mean? Their name is not defined. Using yes modules. Yeah, a lot of these errors are going to require you to just fix them. So their name might not be acceptable, so key changes, type module, I have type module. File URL to path. Let me see. Type module. Type module. Let. Oh, I see what they mean. So there's something you have to do here. Okay, you have to do something like this. But this means we in EasyRL a library that exists within Node, or is it something we're going to install? So let's see. This has taken longer than I expected. Thought we'd be done by now. Says every developer, every delusional developer, every single time. This, I think, like, there's literally no way you would be able to move fast without some AI assistance in this day and age. I mean, there's some ninja developers out there, I can't lie, but just going to be more efficient. So let's see, let's clean the command, then we run live. We have a new error, missing parameter. See, like this. Missing parameter name at index. This means we are adding a bunch of things that are not helping us, and this is my problem with like AI stuff. Maybe this is an issue, not an AI issue. Let's just check MDN to see saving static files express. So the last method is what we are using. This is what we are using. That way we done. Oh, oh, I thought this was MDN and it was working now. Getting something like this. So path equal require path. Comment this out and then come here and see if this works. But also I would have to remove this because we are ready. This is the same command, pretty much the same. Map does use static express.static block.join complete. Okay, let's cancel this. And to cancel this, npm run div. So you notice that you're running a npm run dev every single time, right? So an easy way to avoid that, their name is not defined. Let's try this. It's going to give us file name is not defined. Time is not defined. For use code. This file is being treated as an ES module because it has .js file extension. And let's see what they mean. Let me see what they want us to rename it. Rename it to use CJS. Okay. They want us to rename it to use CJS. We really have to rename it though. And if this doesn't work, we're just going to have let's comply. Sometimes compliance is a necessity. You know, life is too short to fight errors. So we are going to comply. This means cleaning up our code base. This means moving our logic here for the sake of allowing ourselves to move a bit faster. This means removing, okay, we can keep this one because I know we're going to use it. And our logic for now is going to be here. Logic is going to stay here. Okay, so now this is how a server looks like. Express path, but then it needs to change the name. If it's going to run without, it's going to say not found. So it's saying not found, not find module. It means we come here and then we do CJS because we are using CommonJS instead of ES module, and then here cannot use import statement outside a module. We can't use import statements. Okay, I don't mind doing this. Const echo require. This is going to make our life easier, really. So just do these. Express echo fire. Okay. Const path echo require. I think we need to do some type. We're going to maybe do it later on. And then const app echo express. Then move these up as well. Move these two up. And up them here. Const so this is what we're trying to do. Save. Clear command line and then run. We are still getting errors. What's up now? Missing parameter name. Visit. Injecting and from that have. Where is this now? It's refusing this specific part. I don't think we can comment it out, right? Now let's comment it out and see if it works. Oh yeah, accept. So I'm going to show you two things we're going to do to move faster. But now the server is running at least So you can see server running at localhost 5000. So this is working, and trying to see how much time we have used. Almost 2 hours already, and we have barely done anything valuable. Kudos to us. Good job to us. At least we got the server running. Like now we have a proper server that runs, and yeah. So let's see what else we can do. Server running at last. What else we need? I wonder why this didn't work. So we have a server running, but does it show an output? So it's not giving anything, it's showing that there's nothing to return. So I need to put this command back and ask ourselves why it's not working. Or maybe we just use this. And one more change that I wanted to do is npm install save dev nodemon. So what nodemon does is it allows you to run your server. It allows you to watch changes, and by watching changes, what I mean is you can be able to you see how we running and closing npm random, like we restart it and restart it again. We don't really have to do that over and over if you have nodemon. So you can see that nodemon is now installed here, just like organization, really, I think. So this is it. Save, and then instead of running node here, we're going to do nodemon. And then you can add another command for start, and this is going to be node server.cgs. So one allows us to start the server once, and allows us to start the server dynamically. By dynamically, I mean we will make changes and it will reflect. So if I run this, now you can see that it's working. If I come here and remove this emoji, save, we can see that the emoji is gone, right? And if I come here and refresh, we can see, yay, we are able to upload PDFs now. If I choose a PDF, let me see if I can find like a PDF, right? Because this is not working, I'm just like, trying to see if we can make some progress. Like, I mean, if we are at least getting like an output. No, nothing. Well, that's progress. At least you can present this here. So the next part is, but why does this not work? Is this illegal? Oh, maybe that's not illegal. And I think it's like missing parameter name. Do I have to like escape it or something? Why this doesn't work? You can just keep it like this. So a hint I can give you when you see that something might be needed, maybe for later, just put like a to do here and then add investigate using. This is again for the sake of time, right? Just investigate using this, and then again alternate to ensure that you can see everything that you have done. Bam, 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 it's the bang. So that's everything we have done for 2 hours. Proud of us. Again, with the eye. So one thing that we are doing wrong is this. We need to fix this. Let me see. Again, I'm not the most like I don't really remember a lot of tags. Like I just know how to get the output. So if you see me using like reference or using AI, it's not that I do not know what to do. It's just that I cannot keep a lot of these things in my head. Yeah, like I just know how to get to the result, and as long as I have a direction, and I think it's like what matters is like output. Then I don't really remember a lot of these, like how to write link rel. So that's why AI is going to help a lot of people like me who do not remember like commands. Help me fix the bug. What I'm going to try and do is just like run slow, go slow, but a bit slow so that he can catch on. Okay, see, I think unless you're using a lot of these on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to be able to remember. Because one thing about programming is that you have to keep learning new stuff because the old stuff. Are you telling me there's someone somewhere who's still writing COBOL if you, or Pascal? And if, let's see, so one thing you notice is that updating this does not change, does not reload the server. That's because this watches express files but not static files. So when, unfortunately, when you are, I'm sure there's like a way you can do it, but when you, let's first see, yeah, when you you update static files, you have to restart. It's probably like a way to watch these. Oh, maybe it's watching them and they're not working. Server public index.html index.css index.js. Let's inspect and let's go to head. Let me open this. How do you open this? Again, it's been a while since I've done open new tab here. Oh, of course it wouldn't open it. But if this is up, they should be able to open it, right? I'm going to try something. I was going to try and open it with the browser to see if it opens this. Can you open this with the browser? Um, where is this? Isn't this working? That's what I'm trying to understand. Maybe you need to put this here. This again. It's just not serving them properly. That's the problem. So it's serving the HTML. I don't think it's serving this CSS. How do we debug this? How do we debug this? I'm just again going to check this. What are we doing wrong? Non canvas dynamic calendar from the static back prefix. See if you do this, it should give us static files, right? So if you do this, remove this path, it should give us static files, yeah? Nah. Oh no, and that was the wrong path. Yeah, 5,000. Not tab, index, not index, index. Huh, it is. It is. Well, if it's serving them, why aren't we like when the styles being applied? You know what I mean? It is actually serving them. It is serving them. Map that use. So why aren't we getting the right styling again? This is not loading. So one thing you have to know about me is that I do like when I take a break, I can like stand up and go like do some workouts and stuff. Can do like push-ups, burpees, squats, whatever I feel like doing. Yeah. Or when I'm stuck, when it's a bug, and then I'm thinking about the bug and how I'm going to quench it. It's like this bug has got to be quenched. This bug has got to be conquered. It's got to be conquered, right? So let's see why isn't so this is getting um this is so static files are being served here, but our HTML is not saying it. I don't understand. Okay, let's just ask our AI. Hey AI, why are starting files not showing up? Because they are supposed to be showing up. So I can see static files served at port 5000. Again, this is a port number. I'm going to be very descriptive so that you understand. Port number 5000, but these files are not showing. Um, these files are not mm, these not file styles scripts, aka static files. I'm being descriptive for the sake of whoever is watching a video or will watch it later. And yeah, so project server public in your index, da da da. Is this the issue? So do we have to do something like this? Is this the issue? Let's save and see. And then let's save. I don't know what change we made here, but and then let's just restart the server for the sake of restarting the server. And then come back here, refresh. Uh-oh, 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 would you look at that? Uh-oh, this is working. And this is working. But this is not working because we should have applied styling. Not the answer we are looking for. think we might be making some mistake here. Update use static. Oh, I see the mistake. This is assuming that we are doing static. Let me try this and see. This is a pending static, and so let me save this. Let me come back here. Let me refresh. Yes. Yep. So Mid AI has now an interface, a very AI-like interface. Like this is not, but you can see like the styling that you talked about earlier. That can also be found if you go here and CSS and then remove static. I think it's just better if you put static here, but let me show you something very fast. I'm going to put static here. I'm going to go to public, new folder, static. Back here, right here. And come here, index, static, and come here, static, save, come here, okay, static. It just makes sense, like, putting it behind a route and then refresh this. Okay, it still works. Awesome. And just to confirm that it works, we're going to come here, cursor, npm, dev, and just confirm it works one more time. Yeah, it's working. And then if we click here, it's going to choose a file. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is not working. Okay. I think yeah, we have built one app, we have failed, and um yeah, we're going to try again. We're going to create a part two. And again, just to recap everything we have done in this video, we have talked briefly about React frameworks. There's Next.js, which helps you build full stack applications. There's Tailwind, which allows you to write CSS in this way. You can see this is different from the CSS that you just saw here. Like this is very different type of CSS. And then there's React, which is a front-end library. And then there's Node.js. This is a different kind of library or environment that lets you create servers, web apps, and command line tools and scripts. So we have been using this specifically. We have been using its library called Express, and yeah, we looked at Excalibur. So we looked at monolith. So there's how you build a monolith, basically, where you have a client, which is basically like a front end, and then a server, which is like a back end, and then there's another way to build applications, which is APIs. So this is where you have like a client, and then you have a server, which is now a backend, and then you're trying to build the next big thing, which is Mid AI, the future of document processing. And then there's Node, there's Tailwind, there's Next, there's React. This is basically what you just talked about. And there's this graph that we got from MDN, or Mozilla Developer Network, and what it means is the browser request page containing form. So in our case, this form is what we just saw here. So this is a form, even though it's styled to look like this is a form. And pretty much any interaction you're going to have with data or with a server is going to be through some type of form. So this is a one input or two input form. I would have to check to confirm this. And so this is the form and empty default form, user centered data, and error messages. Is data valid? Perform action on valid data. Redirect browser to access validate data. So we haven't done all of these, but we're eventually going to sort of do it. And then the user updates form. Then you validate data. Is data valid? You perform an action. So I don't think we have done all of these, but what they're explaining here is data validation. So how do you validate that? If you have submitted a file here, this file is not more than 10 megabytes. How do you validate if this is a PDF instead of being an image? So, but that's probably what we're going to cover next. And yeah, I think I'm going to end the video here. That was 2 hours. We didn't get to build 2 applications, but you can think of this as part 1. We're going to do a part 2 where we now try and actually build these applications. I mean, we continue to build on this. Yeah, so till next time, stay safe.